Welcome to another episode of the Dream Architect Life. I am absolutely thrilled today for our guest. Barry Garapedian is such an awesome human being. I've been so fortunate to get to know Barry over the last couple of years through a mastermind group called the Genius Network that I belong to. And Barry's been kind enough to be at our Elite Wealth Advisors Symposium that we put on each year for top financial advisors around the country. And after learning more about what Barry does and all the different great things he can do for people, I wanted to share kind of Barry's story, because I think everybody could really benefit from all the lessons that Barry's learned and all the current things that he's doing. So Barry, welcome to the podcast.
Brian, it is my pleasure to be here, and I can't wait to share some thoughts with you, and we can come up with some really cool things for your audience.
Appreciate it. Looking forward to it. Well, what I'd love to do is maybe we have a very similar background, at least initially. So maybe to start with your story and, where did it all start? And then where has that taken you recently?
Sure. So my story is really quite simple. I was on Wall Street for 39 years, and I started with one firm I never left. Back in 1982, I got hired with a company called E.F. Hutton. And E.F. Hutton changed their name about 30 times and ended up to be Morgan Stanley. So as it stands right now, I sold my business a few years ago. And right now, what I'm doing is I'm doing something that was part of the business with family governance. I'm involved in helping young minds and helping kids, helping families, and actually writing a family constitution. So that's really what I'm doing right now. And things are really, really picking up.
Yeah, and what you probably want to do is tell the audience a little bit about what's involved in the family constitution, because I think when people know what it's about, people would probably go, well, I didn't even know that was available. And boy, would that sure be helpful if I knew somebody that could do that for me.
And so it's really quite simple. Everyone has a financial plan. Well, we're going to create a plan for your family and basically take the 7 pillars, what I consider winning the game of life. And my definition of winning are 7 things: family, faith, friends, fitness, financial, fun, philanthropy. Those 7 pillars, under each one, there's principles and guidelines. And we will talk about people's core values, principles, inner truths, how they roll. So let me give you an example. On ours, we have a core belief in our family that anyone who goes to the airport, a family member must take a family member to the airport and pick them up. That's in our guidelines. Underneath financial stewardship, we have a guideline that we're capitalists and we believe in the system of merit, not entitlement. So we want to help our kids, but we don't want to give them too much. So those are the kinds of things that would go into a constitution. We also create, with an artist, a crest, a family crest that will go on your constitution. So you'll have a crest, you'll have the 7 pillars, you'll have all the different things underneath each pillar. And then here's the magic, Brian, because we know when we do a trust, it goes in a drawer, it goes in a bookcase. No one looks at it. What we do is once a month send a group text to the family members on a call to action of something they need to do. 12 times a year. It comes alive. We do think we constantly are adding, subtracting things from the Constitution. So it's something as a value add to the existing financial plan. And it's something that very few people have because they don't really think about these things unless you write them out. So that's what we're doing. We're doing a lot of these, and it's helping financial advisors around the country differentiate themselves from everyone else. It's having a stronger retention of keeping the clients there, in addition to looking for additional business.
Is there a particular kind of family that this constitution works best for, or is it literally for anybody?
It's not for everybody. I would say from a value perspective, it would be for a family certainly north of $5 million of assets. The more assets, the bigger the family, the more things that are involved. So doing this for someone with 500,000 or $1 million is probably not appropriate. So I would probably start it with 5 million or more in assets. We have found that from this process, we also look to be helping the young minds, and I call young minds 14 to 30. That's a sweet spot. We feel that there can be change in their life. Once you get over 30, it's a hard to change, but in that 20s, they're more adaptable to making change. So we like to work with the young minds, helping them with many, many different kinds of things, whether it's challenging with EQ, self-esteem. I mean, I would say the biggest issue we see is confidence, with young minds having the self-esteem. So we know one way to build self-esteem is by having accomplishments, lots of little wins that builds your confidence. So we have many different tools to help young minds with that. And that just sort of goes hand in hand, helping a family.
Yeah, I love that because I think back with the Dream Architect and why I created it. It's people when they're young, they're going to be anything and everything, and then all of a sudden something happens and they get told they shouldn't do that or they can't do that, and then they start believing it. And so if you can catch them at a young age, which you're doing, and give them the confidence that yes, you still can do whatever you want to do, and create the right framework. I think that's
And
fantastic because
Brian,
I think that's missing.
we have 18 tactics of how to do that. It's not like, oh, I'm going to tell you what to do. No, there's actual call to actions of things. So let's take one as an example. Let's just say a young mind is very introverted, very quiet, brilliant academically. I mean, the kid's a 5.0 in school, but for some reason on the street, he cannot or she cannot connect the dots. What do you do? One tactic is taking their phone and creating a vision board.
Ah,
What's a vision board? Well, you know what a vision board is. Cameron Herald, Vivid Vision. We're going to have every kid create minimum of 20 images on a poster board of things that empower them or inspire them. We then are going to have them put it on the screensaver of their phone, just like mine. So here's my screensaver on my phone. It's right here. My vision board's on my phone. Every young
awesome.
mind will have their vision board on their phone because they look at their phone all the time. So with that being said, that's one tool. We have them thinking about where do they want to be in life. Many kids don't think about, oh, they want to graduate, they want to go to college, but what do you want to really do? In addition to that, to build self-esteem, first of all, we help them figure out where they want to be. Then we get them with people. You say, how do you do that? Well, many people go to birthday parties, weddings, anniversaries. We will have them do a reel, REEL, a reel. I would ask them, let's just say it's your birthday, Brian, and someone's coming to your birthday party, and I want the young mind to interview 50 people and say, happy birthday to Brian. And they will go around and get 50 different people saying, happy birthday, Brian, happy birthday, Brian. They'll give me the content. I'll create a reel by giving this to a video editor. And then we will present you with a 5 to 7 minute short birthday wish. Now, what does that do? The young mind is talking to 50 different people. They didn't know. Normally, they'd be with 3 or 4 or 5 people. They're in their little circle. Gets them out talking to people. One. Two, they're building up a network. They're meeting people. That's good. Three, they're doing something what I call a lightning strike, creating and exceeding an expectation that you were not expecting. And they give this as a gift. What if a kid did that? They're doing it. We are doing probably 1 or 2 a month for kids. If they go on a vacation, they do a reel on a vacation. They go to a wedding, and it's really easy to do.
And I will tell you, you're a master at that because you've done that for my benefit. And I still remember how I felt. And I actually have it on a website. It was so good that we used for our conference. But I think it also helps young people create how do I have better relationships with people, and how can I become a better friend, and how I mean, just like life lessons that we use every single day, that one little tool will ingrain people in people's lives just by you did all that for me, and literally, like you said, it took 7 minutes or
And I'll
whatever.
tell you the joy I had in the journey of
Yeah,
doing that, because I didn't know anyone there. I knew two people there. I got to meet new people.
yeah,
And it's also positive. He says, say something nice about Brittany and Brian. That's what was that? Say something, three, two, one, you're on. It's not that hard, but that's an example of a tactic that is so usable. A vivid vision board is a tactic that gets people thinking about the future. There's many, many tactics I could bring in to escalate and elevate a young mind quicker. I'm basically an expediter. We know what expediters are in business to help
yeah.
get property through legislation, whatever. I'm actually an expediter with young minds. They want to be somewhere. I do know how to climb the ladder quicker. And so that's really what I'm doing. And I thoroughly, truly can't wait to get up and and help young minds, because for me, it's the fulfillment of seeing someone do something that really elevates them,
Yeah.
whether it's confidence or it's even monetization of how they can make more money, or it's how they can be a better family steward. It's so there's so many different ways. So that's why we go through a discovery, we figure out what their deliverables are, we figure out what their blind spots are, and we say, okay, they're no longer going to be blind spots. We're going to really strengthen them. These are going to be actual strengths of yours when we're done. And the program's 1 year. So Next Gen Rising Stars is a 1 year program that oftentimes goes into multiple years, but right now, there's many little things that are seem little. Let me give you another example. Let's just take how well you dress, Brian. I've known you for a couple years. You're always very well dressed. You think about the first impression when someone meets you. They see you, coat and tie, professional. Well, what about a young mind? We have everyone elevate their dress code to a little bit better than the rest of the crew. And what does that mean? I would talk to the parents. I'd develop a clothing allowance that they would have a stipend for two or three or four or $5,000 for wherever their market is, and upgrade their wardrobe. Now, what does that do to the kid? They feel better. They're dressed better. They're wearing new clothes or new shoes or a dress or whatever. It's really simple, but no one really teaches this in school. But it's such a basic thing on the street, because if you're dressed a little nicer, how about when you go to the airport? There's a code of conduct I have for my young minds going to an airport. I want them to dress when they travel. I want them to wear neutral colors. Mostly with men, I want them to wear black. Why? Black doesn't show wrinkles when you're flying on an airplane. You have your own plane. It might not be a problem, but the rest of us have to fly commercial. So it's a challenge when we go to the counter and they'll treat you nicer when you're dressed better. And people say, God, you're so right. I tried that. I said, well, it works in restaurants too. If you come in dressing like a slob, you're probably going to be treated that way, versus if you're dressed nicer. So this is just a little tiny, that's not going to define you, but it's a little thing that adds value, because nonverbal is a huge value piece, your nonverbal communication. Little thing with young minds.
Yeah, and none of this stuff, unfortunately, is taught in school these days. And once people get out of their own and they're in business or whatever they're doing for a career, all the things that you're teaching them are so valuable and actually, as you said, accelerate their growth and where they can go to and become their best self much, much quicker.
And
I do have an interesting question, with all the people that you've worked with and maybe just we can talk about the young kids, but when you're talking to them, is there a certain area that you see people getting stuck the most, or kind of getting in their own way that you might want to point
well,
out a couple of things?
number one is self-confidence and self-esteem, but let's assume beyond that is not quite sure what they want to do in their career. So I have a very broad Rolodex of names, and I can think of many, many times I've asked a young mind to reach out to different CEOs around the country and just understand what they do. Now, here's a strategy that helps with that thought. It's called profiles in success. I'm going to
Mhm.
have the kid be an author of a book, his book. And the way it works is the young mind is going to interview 25 successful CEOs or business owners on what they do. And they just want to know what the story is. How did you get to be where you are? What did you do? What the whole thing. They're going to take their phone, they're going to use Otter, they're going to transcribe the conversation. They're going to give me the conversation. I have a writer that will do 12 to 1500 word profile, and we'll have 25 profiles in a book. The kid will be an author called Profiles in Success by Jane Doe. That kid will take that book and gift it to as a philanthropic to other young minds to help them. So the trick here is the kid is meeting 25 business owners, and maybe that would be a networking opportunity. Maybe they will learn more about what they want to do. I have a young lady who wants to interview detectives, veterinarians, and writers. I said, have dad help you align who you need to talk to. You need to get the interview. You need to learn how to use Otter. You send me the content, I'll write it. Guess what? You should see their faces when they get a book and
Yeah.
their names on the book. Do you think their confidence is going to be elevated? Heck yes.
Yeah.
That's an example.
That's amazing.
Hey, Brittany here. In case you hadn't heard, our latest book, Dream Architecture, is available for the taking. Think about it like this. What is your biggest, wildest dream of what retirement could look like? Not the dream that your friends have, or your parents maybe had, or your coworkers. Your best dream, the unreasonable one, the one that you might have trouble admitting even to yourself. So that is what the Dream Architecture book is about. Hop on over to dreamarchitecturebook.com so you can start dreaming big today.
It made me think, with what you're building here, Barry, is there like a community with all the people, all the young kids that go through this where, they kind of can collaborate themselves and help each other even after the year is done? I guess I never asked you that,
Yeah,
but I'd be
not yet
curious.
yet. I have right now I'm looking, I have 21 clients and the way it works is I have once a week call for 30 minutes on Zoom with the young mind. And then I have multiple texts or interactions on the phone per week. Every week they have a call to action to do something. It's not me lecturing, here's what you got to do. No, I'll give you an example. One call to action is we have a sleeve called the Art of Connection. How do you connect with people? We have a strategy that everyone has to get their own personal stationery with their names on the thick card, the nice
Love it.
liner on the card. Teach them how to drip wax and put their stamp on the personal card. Teach them how to write a note. What do you say in a note? If you and I were playing golf, Brian, and you came out my way, and I say, Brian, it was so great to see you. I'll never forget, Brian, on the third hole, your second shot into the green was 18 inches from the pin. Brian, I'll never forget that. It was awesome seeing you. Can't wait to see you again. That's what goes into a note about the other person, not about me. It's always empowering the other person. We teach them how to do that. So I might have one or two notes they have to write a week. Well, who am I going to write to?
Yeah.
Professor, did you meet someone? Someone give you a gift? You want to be a note writer because that's something that's not being done in this day and age.
Yeah, best habit somebody young can learn, or even older, is handwritten notes mean so much to people, and no one does them. Yeah, I totally
So
agree.
that's an example of a call to action we would have on a activity board of things they need to do. Another call to action is creating intentional lightning strikes. What's a lightning strike? A lightning strike is exceeding someone's expectation on purpose. So me doing something for you that you were not expecting. We would create one or two lightning strikes a week with a young mind. I will help design them with them. So what would that be? It could be a phone call to a grandparent. It could be a hand note to a loved one. It could be, it's not about spending money because most of the young minds don't have money or a lot of money. So with value creation, there's three ways you create value. There's material value, which is money, but most kids won't have that. And then there's spiritual value, and there's emotional value. You can make a phone call to a friend, and it's just because you don't have to have a reason just to call someone.
Yeah.
So we will create intentional lightning strikes every week. And by the time you add all these little things up, you've got a full palette of stuff besides school they need to be doing, whether it's hand notes, connecting, networking. There's a variety of things that they have to be doing as far as I might have that they have to talk to 100 people in the first half of the year, document their name and phone number. So I have things like that. Once you tell them what to do, I will help them do it. But if I said to a young mind who's in the fall semester and they have 3 months until December, I want you to talk to 100 people, get their names and numbers. And I have a Google sheet. They have to put the names in. I see exactly where they are because we share a Google sheet. I know exactly where they are. They cannot hide if I'm communicating with them every week. And the key is the repetition. If I did it once a month, it would lose its impact. I could do a group of 10, 15, 20. I like the personalization personally, is where I'm at in my life. It's about really moving the needle with someone. So I need to talk to them minimum 4 times a month. And 30 minutes is just right because it's not too long, it's not too short. Their attention span's about 20 minutes on average. I can have someone can hang for 20. They can't hang for 60, especially on Zoom.
Yeah. Is there I'm just kind of thinking out loud as you explain this, and I'm learning more about what you're doing here. And I thought I was really familiar, but it's actually a much more grandiose than I thought. But is there a particular age? You said 14 to 20. I can see this
14 to 30.
14 to 30.
And the reason why is that we feel in the 20s, they're more apt to change. Once you get over 30, you still can change. Yeah. It's harder. You're setting your mores, okay? So we feel that we want to catch them earlier.
Yeah, I would almost think, and you could maybe add to this, but, learning these tools prior, like your senior year going into college, and knowing and doing all these things throughout the 4 years of school would just absolutely propel you to, it's like almost impossible not to have the most successful career once you got out of school, just because you were doing all the right things and making all the right impressions, right from the get-go, and you weren't having to learn it on the go.
It's an unfair competitive
advantage.
And it really truly is, because they're not learning it. They might be learning it from their parents. Maybe not, but the probability is they're not. So my thinking is that, it's all about giving them some tools and differentiating themselves about their brand. We're trying to build their brand. Everyone's different. So the brand is, who's the kid? What are they interested in? How can we significantly move the needle? Dress code is a tiny piece, but when you go somewhere, I want that, like my guys, when they came to your event, very intentional.
Yeah.
You guys are in ties, you're in suits. Many people might not be in suits and ties, but I want you to dress a little bit better than the crew. And I want you to show tremendous respect. I want you to listen. I don't want you to talk about yourself. I want you to understand and learn about them. Yeah. And you represent me.
Really interesting point, because I had so many people come up and say, did you meet the guys at Barry's booth? Because, they just stood out and they presented themselves so well. So that you say that, it's really had an effect on others just because of the things that you taught them.
And Brian, those guys have worked with me for, let's see, 3 years. I started with Michael when he was a junior in college, and I started with Auden when he was actually a senior. So both of those guys have been around my energy for a couple, 3 years, and they're very coachable. Now, another thing is I like to hire Division I athletes, and the reason why is they're coachable. They're elite athletes. They've been coached since they were 11, 12 years old. They take instruction well, and they love process, structure. What time? What do I need to do? Then I'm taught them to be thought leaders, but then additional to thought leaders, show me how you can be a result leader.
Oh,
That's the game. So everyone that I'm talking to, we're going to create your own brand. You're not going to be like me. You're not going to be like anyone else. I want you to be you. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to find out your sweet spot. So I put them through the discovery, the YOS discovery that you guys know quite a bit about. Brittany's licensed. Everyone I talk to, the young minds, goes through the YOS, what their why, how, and what is. And thank you for that introduction. I would
you're
have
welcome.
never known about that unless I came to EWAS 2 years ago. Seriously.
Mhm.
Great, great, great. Gary Sanchez is fantastic.
Yeah, Gary's a great guy. Well, this is going to be in my show notes, but how would, if somebody wanted to learn more about it, they said, boy, my child would be like fantastic to have him learn these things. How would somebody go about getting more information or,
And we have a website, so it's mag7consultants.com, mag7consultants.com, and then my phone number, 818-427-6109. And then anyone you can think of, and you refer to us, we will make that person. I can give you so many success stories, it's not even funny, on the jobs we find or internships we get, or they're in the first year of their job, how to climb the ladder faster. I have one young lady who was at Ohio State 4 years. She was on the crew, she on rowing, Division I athlete, All-American team, everything. Superstar. There was an issue. She had issues with dating because she was 5'11" and very strong. We got her into a job in New York. She wanted to be working design. Bottom line, we now have her dating, meeting people. I had a conversation with her parents to put together a $10,000 clothing allowance for her to change her whole look, get her out of that jock look into a style, a New York style. What do you want your style? Once you're looking at what kind of style you want to have, I'm dead serious. It changed her like that.
yeah.
Just because I went to bat for her parents. You need to do this. Here's why. She's a superstar. She did everything you asked her to do. Unbelievable superstar. Help her. Let's get her looking amazing. Guess what's happening? Through the roof. You're not going to believe this, Barry. It's just a simple little thing. I can see it. I'm not the parents. Remember, the kids will not listen to the parents 13 through 21. They'll listen to someone off the streets like me. They'll listen to me. I'll say the same thing mom and dad will say, but it's coming from a different person. And then they'll come back to mom and dad when they're over 21. But generally, they're going to tune mom and dad out.
And this is why I wanted to have you on, Barry, because this podcast is all about trying to help people live their dream life and how can they architect that in the future. And I'm just so fortunate to get to meet really amazing people that are making a big difference in people's lives. And I would obviously say you're really doing an amazing job. And what I'd love you to do, Barry, because having gotten to know you well, and I love your energy. You're contagious, by the way, because you just people want to be around you because you just throw off a great energy. But the one thing that I've noticed about you is, one, there's energy, but two, you've done several things and you've been extremely successful, literally, as you've evolved, your life. And I would just love, because sometimes people struggle and they don't know, how and when I'm going to get there, or I can't get to my dream life. And I would totally disagree with that. So maybe we could talk a little bit about, just what it took for you to, get to different levels, and maybe what some of the difficult lessons you've learned in life, and things that you did that made a difference in really helping you be successful, from being a financial advisor to all the new things that you're doing. So if you get thoughts on that, I'd love to hear them.
I'll start with a couple things. So number one is nothing happens until after you commit. So you have to decide and commit. That's number one. Number two is the best lesson my parents ever gave me is they believed in me. Besides unconditionally loving me, they believed in me. So if they believed in me, I then developed my I believe button. I had the I believe button when I was a little boy. I felt I could do a lot of things. So, one, it really starts with self-esteem and confidence in anything, sports, fishing, you name it. In addition to that, I always had mentors and coaches my whole life. My whole life. I always invested in myself. And I spent well over a $500,000 in 40 years in consulting for me to get help. And one of the best lessons I learned is early in my career is I learned how to win the morning. If you win the morning, you win the day. So I had specific rituals in the morning I did consistently. If I ever hit the snooze button, the kiss of death, I could honestly say to you, I'd never hit the snooze button. That defers the morning, an hour, hour and a half of feeling lousy. But I would have a systematic routine in the morning and get more done by 5 in the morning than most people. I know you're a very early bird too, and you're an advocate of getting things done early. I'm a huge advocate of getting up early. So I'd say win the morning, you win the day. And I always would structure my day the evening before. I know exactly what my day looks like today. This was done last night.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know exactly what I need to do. So my structure and my process. So learning process early in my life. So I had, and I still have a dashboard. I call it a digital dashboard of activities I need to do, not results, activities. An activity would be like, what time do I want to get in the office? How much water am I drinking? How many calls did I make? How many meetings did I have? How many hand notes did I send out? I have all those activities. I have the same thing on my wellness dashboard of fitness related things. I love keeping score and measuring things. I know without a doubt, if I do these things, I'm going to be successful. The question is, can I do them consistently, day after, month after year after year? Can I consistently do this? And that's where most people fall off, is they can't consistently do that. Somehow was able to do that. That's the
And
key.
it's all about, creating the right habits and starting
Right.
in the morning, creating that routine is a great way. And I totally agree with everything you say. And it's funny, when you talk to successful people, there's similar things that they all say. They may say it slightly different, but if people at a young age can have exposure to the things that you're doing for them, and then find out, well, what are those success principles, and take them to heart and take action on them, that in and of itself will help, make them, whatever they want to be. I have found though, and I'd love your thoughts on this, that obviously confidence is king. And that big four-letter word called fear of failure, or fear of not meeting somebody's expectation pops up. And uh, can you think of a
Sure.
time where you overcame
Oh
fear and
God, absolutely.
did something different, and all of a sudden, whoo, here it went.
Back in the day, Brian, I was a big advocate of many of the outstanding speakers in such as Tony Robbins. And I remember when Tony Robbins first came out in the early 80s, he had a piece on fear. He always said, learn to dance with fear. So instead of pushing it away, embrace it and
Yeah.
listen to it, but only give it a certain amount of duration of how long you want to be in the fear state. So I'll give it 5 or 10 minutes and I'll say, okay, fear, thank you for sharing that with me. Have the mindset of going with, I call it fail forward. So fail forward means it's okay to fall. You're just going to get up quicker, and we learn more from our quote mini failures or losses. Being a tennis player, and my son being a tennis player, we lost a lot of tennis matches to get good. You have to lose. So you have to have the mindset. It's okay that something doesn't go right. I was also a professional magician. There's many times I would blow a trick, but there's risk involved of me getting it right. but there's the risk of me not getting it right.
Yeah.
So you can't let your life being thinking about all the things that could go wrong with the mindset that fail forward. So that's the mindset, and there's either you're winning or you're learning. Winning or there's no losing. It's winning or learning. So the mindset is how we shape that. And I advocate to all the young minds just getting in the batter's box. I could show them a magic trick, do it in front of 20 people. If they blow it, hey man, I'm going to give you an applause for just standing up and doing it. That's
Yeah.
awesome. You even tried to do that. You won.
Yeah.
So it's a mindset.
Yeah. You and I are both big readers. Is there a book that you can think of that
Oh,
maybe helps frame that for somebody if they wanted some resource that they could look back at on a fairly often basis?
well, I usually start with the basics with everyone. I have my young minds read 2 books a month, 25 books a year. It's the books you read, the people you meet. It's that simple. The books you read, the people you meet. Everyone has to read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, it's a
It's
great one.
not just a business book. It's a life book about some of the most successful people in ever of how they did it. And they had a vision of mastermind groups, and they had a vision of thinking about visualization of where they wanted to be. Pretty basic, but still to this day, unbelievably good. It's an easy read. The other book that everyone reads, start with Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Easy read, but you need to know that's timeless. It
Yeah.
still works. Rather than telling someone what's not working, tell them what is working and how they can make it even better. I mean, Joe Polish is a master at this. I have everyone read Joe's book. What about what's in it for them? It's a great read. It's an easy read. He's collaborated a lot of content. So there's a lot of books, but what I have them do is when we read it one book every 2 weeks, we're going to talk about it. I want what's the narrative? How can you utilize this book in your life? And rather than memorizing things, what can you actually get from this book? So there's a ton of books out there, but unfortunately, most kids don't read
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So what I do is I transition it to Audible. So listen, when you're getting ready in the morning, I want you to flip on Audible in the bathroom. There's 15 minutes right there. You're getting ready in the bathroom. 7 days a week, you're already knocked off 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Most of these books are 7, 8 hours. You can easily do that. Not that hard with Audible. And I listen to a lot of Audible myself in the car. So usually up until noon, I never listen to anything. There's no sports looking at or no music. It's all business related up until noon. Then the afternoon, I can listen to music. So I tell the kids the same thing. You're in business mode in the morning up until noon. I want you reading. I want you I want you to know enough what's going on in the world. Okay, it doesn't mean we need to be listening to all the noise. I don't want you watching the news for more than 10 minutes a day. Okay. I think you can get most of it done inside 10 minutes. But if you're looking at more of that stuff, you're getting caught into that game. You'll notice a lot of people are angry people and they're angry elves. You don't want to be that way. And if you do see someone that way, you just bless them and release them. You don't have to
Yeah.
fix everybody. It's called bless and release, as our good friend Bob Castellini shares. He also shares bitter or better. You can either be bitter or you can
Or
be
better.
better.
Yeah.
Choose.
Love that one. Yeah.
And I choose to be better. And I am not going to be focusing on all the negative stuff. And guess what? There's a lot of negative stuff out there. I choose not to engage in it. It's
Yeah.
not that
That
I'm
can
not
be
aware of it.
yeah, can be overwhelming these
Yeah.
days. Yeah.
And we know that, but you have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this podcast is all about, getting people to think bigger, make their life better. I'd be curious, with all the things that you're going, maybe what's your biggest dream or aspiration for your future in the next, whatever next couple of years or
Oh,
whatever
I'll,
time
I'll tell
frame?
you right now, I have a vision to take Mag 7 Consulting to as many people as I can hit to change lives. It's not about monetizing it. It's about really making a major impact with young minds and advisors, helping them with their families. I've learned the hard way that, the 7 F's, which we know as family, faith, friends, fitness, financial, fun, philanthropy, that is the infrastructure of winning the game of life. So winning the game of life is not easy. It's hard. And we need oftentimes mentors or coaches to help you with that, because many of us who are entrepreneurs are very, very work oriented, and we can be caught in that workaholic zone. And I'm one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly balancing my day with my calendar, and I have free time when I work out, exercise, family time, my wife, my grandkids. So I'm very focused on trying to be balanced intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And I always learn so much, Barry, when I talk to you. So I'm gonna keep doing more of these because it's
Well, I'm happy to.
it's
I
good.
love I love this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But we're
Um,
actually living it. See, we're living it. We're not just talking about it. If you came to my home, you would see this whole world around everything we're talking about. And I don't have any negative Nellies in my life. I don't hang around because you are the aggregate of the 5 people you most associate with.
100%. Yeah.
So who you hang with, your vibe is your tribe. Your vibe is your tribe. Think about it. You're a positive, upbeat guy. Who do you hang with? Well, you're hanging around people like you.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true. And if you if you don't believe that, just think of the last time you were with somebody negative and then what the rest of the day was like, after that. And it'll probably not have been a really good, positive, uplifting
And
experience.
Brian, life is short, and
Yeah.
we've seen all kinds of things with families, and unfortunately divorce and medical issues and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I'm very present in the moment with this call, and I'm present with everyone I talk to. I try to make everyone the most important person in the room when I'm engaged with them. And like Joe Polish always says, treat yourself like $1 million racehorse. It's a great metaphor because many people don't treat themselves well. Take care of yourself, do the things that listen, the news is the information's there. The question is it's hard to do. So you
Yeah.
have to really put time and energy to take care of yourself.
No, I couldn't agree more. If you don't, have your health, then, what else, matters. And, yeah, this is, boy, I could go for hours on this, Barry,
But we
but
can do this again. The
yeah,
reality
we
is,
absolutely will. Cause there's a whole other
we
theme
can
I
get
could,
this
I could
specific
go with.
subjects, but this is general.
Yeah. One thing that I would love, maybe before we close is, what haven't I asked you that I should have asked you that might be helpful for the audience?
Let's see. I had some notes down here. I would say the most important thing I can think of is self-belief and believing in yourself and the I believe button. I think everything resonates around the life of being confident. So I think I'd end with that. And if you need to take that to the next level, you need to talk to Brian. You need to talk to Barry.
Yeah.
Brian is one of the most confident, easiest, wonderful people you could ever talk to. So I would be reaching out to Brian and Brittany. By the way, Brittany is amazing.
Yeah, she, as I always say, she's definitely a unicorn. So
She's definitely a unicorn.
it's always a delight to spend time with Brittany, as you're well aware, and likewise with you, Barry. It's always a treat when I get to see you at an event or Genius Network or whatever, and you just bring joy and great energy to all those around you. And I want to thank you for being part of our podcast, and we'll definitely do this again soon.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thank you for putting this together.
All right, Barry. All the best.
Thank you.